Okay, so last week we got up to here. How and what is the fix, the way to fix people who are sick in their souls? They should go by the people who are wise. The Bashals, who are people who can heal souls. Shem Lamdi Mosam, could teach them until they come back to a good way. People who know that they have bad opinions, bad mitos. Don't go by a wise person to heal them. Concerning such people, Shlomo said, the wisdom of wisdom and musar and ethics, foolish people make fun and make a mockery of it. So, as I think I might have mentioned last week, the Ramah holds that Bismana said there's no din of Rabbo Muvhak. We have no din of actual your main Rebbe because the Sfarim are a Rabbeim. So that's why we also have Musa Sfarim besides Sfarim about other subjects, because a lot of people nowadays get Musa more out of Sfarim than they do out of talking to other people. But it's still better, even in our day and age, to have a friend or a mentor, a Rebbe or a rabbi or the person, parent, who is willing, who gives you instruction, helps you out in finding out what you should be doing and assisting you along those paths. And because we have several problems, people don't have a way, a guide, whether it's a person or a book, which he now explains. There are people who, maybe it's easily post Erchatov, but to take hold of a good, the people who have a desire to take hold of a good path, they don't know what's good for them. They have good intentions. Every day they think, okay, I'm going to get to a higher level. They don't attain it their entire lives. Why? Can come back for one or two reasons. People don't know their own shortcomings. You don't realize that your pathways are negative ones. Most people don't like thinking bad about themselves. Because Chazal would say, person doesn't see their own blemishes, their own imperfections. It's not easy for me to say, okay, in this respect, I am not doing the best I can. In this mistake, in this aspect, my mitos are not the best they possibly could be. So that's a problem. It's like Reuven is looking for Shimon, but doesn't know what Shimon looks like. I feel is so cool. I'm going to say, if he looks in all day, he's not going to find it because he doesn't know what he's looking for. He can't mean your voice, so we are here now. Yeah, you'll come across him several times. And you will recognize him. So to this person. Even though he thinks all the time, what should I do? What should I do? What am I supposed to do in this world? But he looks for the right thing to do. He won't be able to attain it. Because he doesn't recognize his shortcomings. So that's one person. He doesn't even know where to look, what to look, because he doesn't know what am I looking for. What's good trait that I should be looking for? What does it look like a good trait? There's no idea. So that person has no idea. Yeshodam, there's another person who knows the bad traits he Yeshbo, which he has. The Choshev, let's say Mehem, and he wants to leave them behind. The Lechos Mamidos Tovos, and to grab onto good mitos. The Gamu Loyasi Koyamov Derechayosha. But in his entire life, he won't attain the good, the positive way. Shemitzatsu becomes lazy. L'chapes Hamidos Tovos Karoi. In other words, it takes a lot of effort to be a good person. It's much easier not to be a good person. Right? So it takes so much effort to be a good person. So therefore, who is lazy, doesn't want to put in the effort. It's like Reuven who's looking for Shimon and knows what Shimon looks like. So if he really looks, he can find him, right? But nevertheless, so he can't find him. Why? Well, he doesn't find him, I should say. Because he doesn't look for it properly. He doesn't use the proper methodology. And this it says that the tongue of a tzaddik is like choice silver, and he's going to explain what this mashal means, that the tongue of a tzaddik is like choice silver, in detail in the next paragraph. He says, Misha noshe b'chaveru. Somebody, I loaned somebody money. Now, back in the old days, of course, money was valuable based on its weight, right? And you had to know how much something weighs to know if it's the right amount of money or not the right amount of money. So he had to actually carefully check out things in order to carefully check out the silver you're getting to know if it's a proper weight. His friend owes him money. Comes to pay back money, silver, according to weight. He doesn't know the true weights and whether his scale is an honest scale. But he recognizes everything about the weight, the weights and measures. He doesn't know if the silver is pure silver, or maybe it's just lead painted with silver paint. He doesn't know whether he's got the real thing here. This person is very close to being harmed, to being taken advantage of in terms of the weight and in terms of the silver. Sometimes you're going to refuse the real silver. You take dross, meaning impure silver. You might take less than the proper weight. Maybe it's going to take from the lighter weight if you didn't balance the scales properly. Or you have some cast of kafel, it's going to put the silver in a heavier weight, so it's be more weighed down, and it's going to get less silver that way. Because you have Moses can come to mistake. I feel even if he knows well about the silver and about the weights. He made a mistake about karoi if he does not careful and looking at the silver to make sure it's pure silver. Because we'll see him. Maybe he's going to get all sorts of impurity are going to get mixed up in his silver. I will bucky bako, but if he knows everything, but mishko, the weights, the kesef and the silver, and he pays careful attention, so he shouldn't get cheated. Also, then it's going to be paid back properly. Kesef naki, pure silver, mishko, which is perfect in its weight. That's why the tongue of a tzaddik is the kesef nivkar, is like choice silver. The tzaddik has to recognize good and bad and all the traits. So at least he has to look at them and analyze them properly. And he has to make efforts with his body, with his physically, and with his wisdom. To leave behind stupidity and hold on to understanding. Come back to that in a minute. And to remove the mixture of impurities from him. And then his soul will be pure and refined for God. Because if it says, remove the impurities from the silver and the vessel will be refined. Perush, meaning when you remove those impurities, then everything will be refined. Now, what does it mean to be a tipesh? It says here you shouldn't be a tipesh, right? So we think normally a tipesh is a stupid person. But most of us go through lives as tipshim. How so? Because it's hard to think and it's uncomfortable to think. As we say numerous times, most people read radical dead than have to think. So
what do you
if
mean?
You're just going on autopilot through life, that's a tipesh. All the time you go through autopilot, it's like a tipesh. So being a tipesh is actually what most people do most of the time. It's very difficult to step back and think. And that's what a tzaddik has to do. And I don't think I talked to you during the course of the year about Pinocchio. Did I speak to you about Pinocchio at all? No? Recollection? No. Okay. So Pinocchio is one of the greatest cartoon movies ever made. And it's a very, very profound story. And I'm sure you all know the most famous thing about Pinocchio is that he had a nose which grew longer when he lied. But that's not the most important part of the movie. The movie has lots and lots of deep meaning. The most important part of the movie is that he had a conscience. His conscience called Jiminy Cricket, who sat on his shoulder and told him the right thing to do. And sometimes, most times he doesn't listen to the conscience. Sometimes he gets annoyed at the conscience. Sometimes he tries to get away from the conscience. In the book, not in the movie, in the book, he tries to kill the conscience. It's a bug. He tries to squash the bug. So eventually, eventually he is able to become a real boy, and we'll talk about how that happens. But and then it seems that the conscience does its job, and the conscience gets a medal and goes off quite proud of itself, the Jimmy Cricket. So the idea is like this: most people want to have a Yetzer Tov, but they want the Yetzer Tov to stay outside themselves. Now, a fantastic example of this is a kid in school, right? A kid in school, most of the time, the way they determine whether they're good or not good is by checking out if they're still in school or if they're kicked out of school. If they're kicked out of school, they know they're not good because they got kicked out of school. If they're still in school, they're okay. Other people, they'll know if I got a B, I know I'm not doing good. If I got an A, I know I'm doing fine. Other people, perhaps, some people, an A plus, but as long as they got an A plus, they're fine, right? So in all these cases, you're not thinking, what knowledge should I acquire? What's good for me, and how can I be good? The school or the teacher is the Yetzer Tov, and as long as you meet that good person or that system's expectations, you're good. But that's even the way we say it nowadays. You're good, right? As long as you meet the expectations. There's most kids, even most adults as well, we're dealing with kids right now, most kids don't stop to think, what should I be doing? What's the right thing to do? What's going to make me a better person? And Chazal say, you don't get a Yetzer Tov until you're bar mitzvah. So doesn't mean you don't get a Yetzer Tov until you're bar mitzvah. You have lots of kids from a very young age who are doing good stuff. They're doing great stuff, right? They're good people, they're good boys. So so Santa says that sometimes the Yetzer Tov and Yetzer mean the inclination to be good and the inclination to do bad. But sometimes the Yetzer Tov and Yetzer mean the emotion and intellect. And the emotion is called Yetzer because not because it's really bad in and of itself to have emotions, but a person who follows the emotions completely without thinking about things, usually they'll end up doing something wrong or not doing something right. And again, a person who follows the intellect, not always, but most of the time you follow the intellect, if you think things through and you do what you thought through, you'll end up doing good. So a kid, until they're bar mitzvah, they don't think about things independently. They don't think, oh, should I be good? Should I be bad? Should I do this? Should I do that? They know this feels good. People will like me if I do it. My Rebbe's going to say nice things to me. My teacher's going to say nice things to me. I'll be popular among my friends. I'll feel good about myself. That's emotion. So a lot of young kids do things because emotionally it makes them feel good. It happens to be other people feel good emotionally when they don't do such great things. But everything until a person becomes bar mitzvah is emotion. Only once a person becomes bar mitzvah can a person start thinking about things intellectually. Not because that's a difference between a teenager and a little kid. Is that a little kid doesn't think intellectually. A teenager begins to think about things intellectually. That's why it's like a constant process from the time you're 13 till you're gadol b'dei adam, so you're 20 and you're gadol b'dei shamayim, because you're always developing. So until you're 20 years old, when you reach more or less the height of your capacity for intellectual thought. So a person before bar mitzvah doesn't have a Yetzer Tov, it means they don't think things through. They don't have the capacity to think about things objectively. I can tell you when I was your age, I wouldn't think to myself, okay, what should I be doing? Is what I'm doing good? Is what I'm doing bad? It's going to make me a better person, it's going to make me a worse person. I was saying, what do I have to do not to avoid getting kicked out of school? Sometimes I didn't even mind doing things which might get me kicked out of school. But I didn't think about intrinsically what's good or bad for me. I'm sorry, what's good or bad from an intellectual perspective, but what's good or bad for me at the moment. So I hate to use an example from your real life, but I will. I don't really hate it, but actually I like using examples from real life. All you guys misbehaved during a certain class this year, right? Now I understand misbehaving feels good. And maybe even if you thought it through, you decided, oh, this teacher, she was an apicurus, she was a feminist, she was blah, blah, blah. And therefore, it's a mitzvah to be bad in her class. But not, people do not think that.
The Gemara and Brachos.
What? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay.
You should bother the Risham. You should bother the Risham. The Gemara and Brachos.
The question is whether first you shot if you had a target and you shot the arrow, or you shot the arrow and then drew the target around it, right? You decide to decide, so come on, brachas, I'm going to misbehave, or is that I'm going to misbehave? Let me justify it by the Gemara brachas. So, when I was your age, I wouldn't have thought that way either. When I was in eighth grade, I got kicked out of certain teacher's class for almost an entire year because I was chutzpahdik to the teacher. And I was proud of myself. I didn't feel bad about it.
Rebbe, me too.
Okay, so we have great things, so many things in common, Baruch Hashem. So that's I'm not thinking with my independently, is it good to be kicked out of this class or badly? Because class, I'm thinking emotionally. Am I enjoying this in the moment? Not enjoying this in the moment. I feel righteous indignation and I feel angry. I'm going to get back, or that's the right thing to do. These are two very separate cheshbonos. So now Pinocchio, he has Yetzer Tov is outside of him. Many people are like this, and Rav Desser says the way you can see is that if a person sees a person's on a diet and they see a beautiful platter of ice cream, which is so sweet and so creamy and so rich, the way their thought process works is that they say to themselves, I want the ice cream. And the Yetzer Tov comes to them and says, you shouldn't have the ice cream. In other words, I'm myself, the desire, and the Yetzer Tov is that which is restraining me from the outside. That's the Yetzer Tov for most people. They like having a connection to it, otherwise they feel bad. But the Yetzer Tov is on the outside. It's not something they absorb and think about independently, but it's something which they want to have a connection with a rabbi, a rebbe in school. They don't want to get kicked out. They want to get a good grade, but not that I have to figure out myself what I have to do, what I don't have to do. Okay, 1 second. What is it? Yes, can I have my phone? My granddaughter wants my phone to watch videos. 1 second. There you go. Okay. That's it in here. Message here from Mrs. Kruger. Okay, so Pinocchio, the entire movie, till the end, Jiminy Cricket sometimes either wants to get rid of him, doesn't want to get rid of him. In the end, at the end of in order to become a real boy, what he does is he saves his father's life, and in a way which he doesn't have to. He doesn't gain anything from it. He's putting his life in danger. He's doing the right thing because it's the right thing, right? Now, because so that whether that's the right way to explain it or not the way to explain it, but that a person does the right thing because it's the right thing to do, they've internalized the Yetzer Tov. And the movie itself has several other aspects which relate to this and some which don't relate to this, which are very powerful. One of them is that all the other puppets in the movie have strings attached. Like that's the way you make a puppet go, by the strings. Only Pinocchio doesn't. So Pinocchio thinks to himself, oh, I'm free. I have no strings attached. There's even a song about that. So in the movie. But the whole point of the movie is no, as long as you still are, as long as your Yetzer Tov is outside of yourself, you're still a puppet, just the strings are invisible. In other words, you're driven by your own midos to do whatever you do, and not thinking independently. And that's why Chazal say, only a person who is involved intellectually in Torah and thinking things through, such person is free. Other people have hidden strings, but the strings are there anyway. There's one other aspect of the movie, and many other aspects of the movie. One other aspect I want to mention, it's not directly related, which is the movie is really a very scary movie. At the end, the people get eaten by whales, and the whales start pursuing them. And in the middle, one of the great scenes is where all the boys go off to Pleasure Island to have all the pleasures they can have. And obviously, the people, they're living completely under the sway of the Yetzer Hara, right? They have no concept of Tov. They're just there for pleasure. And the boys who totally involve themselves in pleasure gradually turn into donkeys. which is pretty scary to watch as they're turning into donkeys. And eventually they're sent off to the salt mines to work. So for the rest of their lives. So that scene could be taken out from a Maharal, because the word chamor in Hebrew, donkey, is the word from the same word as chomer, which means materialism or materialistic existence, focus on this world, and no paying attention to what's higher and above this world. And in fact, we say, I think it's in this week's Haftarah, next week's Haftarah, Yodash Shor Koneo Chamor Vuspalov. An ox is smarter than a donkey. An ox knows its master. A donkey doesn't even know its master. It just knows where it gets its food. That's what it knows. So a person who's involved in all these materialistic pursuits, just pursuing pleasure, he's a chamor, and he turns into a chamor. Getting back to this idea, so a very high madrega, which a person can reach, and I'm saying most people do not reach, including myself, is when a person identifies internally with his Yetzer Tov and externalizes the Yetzer Hara. But your entire life, you try to internalize more the Yetzer Tov and get, know you're supposed to do the right thing and consider what's the right thing and feel good when you do the right thing after thinking it through. But there's some people, even they manage to externalize the Yetzer Hara, and the Yetzer Hara is like before the Chet of Adam Rishon, when the Yetzer Hara had to come from the outside and try and tempt you to sin. And that I have somebody who's acquainted with him, talked to many years, but he gave his Yetzer Hara a name. And the name he gave his Yetzer Hara was Rembrandt. Rembrandt was a famous Dutch artist who was able to paint extremely, extremely realistic looking pictures, paintings. And it's the Yetzer Hara is the same way. The Yetzer Hara paints very, very realistic pictures for you. And it shows you things as if they're very real, but in fact, they're completely fake. So the way he would deal with the Yetzer Hara is he talked it. He'd say, listen, Rembrandt, I'm not listening to you because you're just depicting to me this pleasure as being real while it's really false, and we know it's false. So that's a very high madrega, very to not just internalize your Yetzer Tov, but externalize the Yetzer Hara. And as I said, that was level Adam Rishon before he sinned, when the Yetzer Hara was the nachash, which is outside of it. So for a person to get to this level of being one with the Yetzer Tov, they have to always be thinking things through. They have to have the Tzaddikim said you have to have the proper weights and measures, know how to use them, know how to balance them, and be aware of what's actually pure silver, what's not pure silver. Otherwise, you'll never be able to figure anything out, right? If you don't have the tools, then you'll not be able to figure out what the right thing to do is. And you're going to mess up. So as I said before in the previous paragraph, now there's some people who have no idea what the tools are, and some people have the tools, but they're too lazy to use them. So either way, you're not going to be able to be successful in becoming a better person. Hey, is that clear? It was a kind of a deep idea, this Pinocchio idea.
I thought.
What? Okay, good. So it says there's another issue. There are people who are not consistent, and they keep they don't act the same way all the time. Now, this is not the greatest example what he's about to say, but it is. I'm going to mention anyway because it's true, which is that it's very hard for us to act towards all people the same way, because the people we like and people we hate, the people we think it's fun to be with, and people we think it's a pain to be with. So we don't act naturally to all people in the same way. But that goes against Chazal and Pirkei Avos. What is it, Moshe? Thank you. Thank you. That goes against Chazal and Pirkei Avos. Chazal and Pirkei Avos say, Shammai says, having makabels kol adam b'sever panim yofos. Right? Kol adam. Doesn't matter who it is. You're supposed to makabel them with a positive. Let me close the door here. You're supposed to be makabel them positively. So we're not consistent, even though we should be consistent, because we don't do things because they're the right thing to do, but we do things because this is what we feel about them, right? A Rebbe is no different, right? A Rebbe has kids in the class who give him pleasure, and kids in class who give him a pain. And it's very hard to treat the kids to give you pleasure the same way you can treat the kids to give you a pain. But a real Rebbe who's effective and doing his job right, he has to try his best to treat everybody the same way. So people are inconsistent in this respect and in many respects. And that's what he says here. He changes his pathways. He's not set. Sometimes goes on to this way of behavior. Another time he goes away from that minhag, and he goes on to that kind of behavior. That's what he always does. Is like a person wants to go to a city. He doesn't know how to get there. He doesn't recognize the paths which lead him there. Therefore, he doesn't know what to do. He's desolate. One point he'll go this way. He'll go and wander in the other way. So too in the third path and the fourth path. Like such people, Shlomo says, the toil of foolish people is going to make them exhausted. They don't know how to get to the city. So they keep trying this way, that way, and they don't know exactly which the right way is, and therefore they're constantly getting lost, and eventually they give up hope. They get depressed because they know what they were supposed to do. Then we have to have mercy on people who are bound by these ropes of empty life. To teach them how to have the right weights, and a straight scale, and tell them how to make sure the silver is pure. Was trying to teach them the straight ways. In order the person to be able to choose at the beginning of his conscious choice of his a pathway. Is going to bring him to a rich and pleasant place. We're all good at. So what's that pathway? Who says, in a nutshell, who Yirah Shamayim. Now, Yirah Shamayim means awe or fear of heaven, but the word Yirah is directly related to the word Re'iyah, which means to see, right? You have to be able to see the good in order to do the good. So you have to be able to see what Hashem wants from you, in order to know what Hashem wants from you, in order to be in awe of what Hashem wants from you. So Yiras Hashem is Re'iyas Hashem, and not that you can see God himself. That's what we say, usually say Yiras Shamayim and not Yiras Hashem. Because Shamayim you can see. So you see Shamayim, okay, I see what Shamayim is, I see what has not just the blue of the heavens, which is supposed to be in and of itself a good thing, but I see what Hashem wants from me. And then I come in awe of what Hashem wants from me. So Yiras Shamayim is the basis of everything, but it only comes with a basic knowledge, which comes back to what I said before. You got to go to the Chachamim or to the books to tell you what you're supposed to do. That's the purpose of everything a person does and the end of everything a person does. Hashem asks from all of us. You'll see, Hashem asks is the Yirah. And no deed can be considered good unless it has some sort of pure awe of Hashem attached to it. And he gives a mashal. Nice mashal. Let all of you know. You want to bring yourself to good midos? You have to put a little bit of Yirah Shamayim with each and every midah. Because that means that you're doing the midah for the right reason. Not because it makes you feel good. Not because it's going to get you an advantage, but because Hashem wants you to do it. Yiras Hashem, Yiras Hashem is like a knot which holds all the midos. It's like a string which they put in into the holes in pearls. It's like a string which holds all. What is it? I don't have it. You have it.
No, I don't.
Then ask Abba who he gave it because I don't have it. Sorry about that. So the So a person needs to have all the pearls intact, all the midos in the proper place. Once the pearls spill, they'll go all over the place. You lose that beauty, and you don't know you're not functioning properly anymore. So that it's like a chuchik nisotocharei margalios. Kashuk ksharim b'tachti. So they put a knot on the bottom. Lachzik kol margalios to hold all the pearls in place. Ain't so big. There's no doubt keeping. Now take a kesher. If the knot breaks, you put kol margalios. All the pearls gonna fall. Kachayira, so to this all yamachzegas kol midos. It holds all the midos in place. You cut their kesher year if you're gonna undo that knot of Yiras Hashem, of that perspective on what Hashem wants of us. You're going to lose all your good midos. If you don't have good midos, and you don't have mitzvos. You don't have mitzvos in either. So we're going to talk more about that next time. But the Ov Torah has to do with Tikkun midos. Every midah, whether it's good or bad. If you're smart, you can take a bad midah, make a good midah. That's something which the Tzaddikim is going to tell you length. How even bad midos, there are good ways in which you use them. Of course, the good midos also, there are bad ways to use them. And the foolish person will make good midos into bad midos. Yes. You want it now? Oh. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Somebody goes in darkness. The enemy's born of midos. He doesn't look at how to fix his midos. We can have a midah which is going to cause him to lose all his merits. And he gives one example. Somebody's proud of what they do. He takes honor and looks at himself as more beautiful. And looking down at his friend and says, look, I'm great. I'm a masmid, I'm a Talmud Chacham, I'm a person who has great midos, right? So you come a big Baal Gaiva and you look down at other people and all your good midos are worthless. You'd be the biggest Baal midos and it's all worthless because it just makes you look down at other people and look at yourself as being fantastic. Be the great, right? So a person fills a jug full of precious, very expensive wine. There's a small hole at the bottom of the barrel. It's going to lose all of the good wine in that small hole unless he closes it. So to this person who gets proud. Even though it's full of Torah, he's going to lose all that good stuff unless he's careful to fix it. Okay, we're going to have to stop here because we're going to have to go to the ball game. And anyway, our time is almost up. So next week, we're going to get into, obviously, how we make sure to have the right midos. Okay, guys, thank you very much for coming early.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye.